Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 87 of How Do You Write? I'm so glad you're here. I'm Rachael Herron, and I'm very excited about this show. Today, I have with me Adrienne Bell, who has been on the show before, but this time she's talking about her incredible plotting method, which you are going to love. So stay tuned for that. A little bit of catch up. I'm home. I'm home, and I want to stay here forever. I just got back from Chicago the last weekend, so I've been home for a couple days. And after traveling for like 6 of the last 8 weeks or something like that, I just cannot wait to sink into being home and being here. That said, I was at the Sell More Book Show Summit, which was fantastic. It was in Chicago, and I really got a lot out of it. I got to meet my awesome co-host, Jay Thorne. While I was there, we've actually never met in person. We host the Pedal to the Metal, and Zach Bohannon and a bunch of other people that I've only ever known online, Chris Fox and Monica Leonel and Lindsay Baroker. It was a fantastic time. I would highly recommend the conference next year if they do it, which I think they are going to do it. It was small, intimate, and it was really, really about the industry. I thought it was very, very well run. Highly recommended. That said, boy, am I glad to be home. Have I mentioned that? I'm such a homebody. I also learned from this conference that I am more of an introvert than I even thought. I always thought I was really an ambivert. Turns out that extrovert side of me, perhaps I've always managed by drinking. Like it's always been helped by drinking. So not drinking, I got real shy and I got real overwhelmed pretty easily. And I understand that's a learning curve. I'm just learning how to live this life completely sober. So that will take some time, but I kept finding myself fleeing, like just running out of places, just completely overwhelmed. Luckily, the hotel had a really deep bathtub, and I went to Bed Bath & Beyond my first day there and bought one of those deep bath water extender things. It's the cover that you put over that drain that's up high on the wall of the bath. If you didn't know you could get one of those, it's like $7 at Bed Bath & Beyond. It's wonderful. So basically that means you can fill the tub to the very top. So I would get overwhelmed. I would go take a bath, and then I'd be ready to start all over again. Yes, so I'm an introvert. Eek. And now I'm at home, and I finished the revision of my thriller while I was gone, and that's fantastic. It's off my desk again to my agent, hoping this is the time that we are going to take it out wide. So that'll be wonderful because I can't stand to look at it anymore. You've heard this before. I am starting work on the third Ballad Brothers romance. That's what's on my plate next. I need to do a bunch of plotting and then some actual first drafting, and it has been a long time since I did that fiction-wise. So I'm really looking forward to that next week. Actually digging down into first drafting, which is not what I usually say. So I will keep you posted on that, how that feels. And, something that I should mention. Oh, maybe I mentioned it last week. I don't remember. But I did start a Slack channel for Onward Writers, which has been great. We're just posting our goals in there. I'll go in and post, I want to do X, and then I'll post whether I did or not. We have a bunch of people who are challenging themselves to write 1,000 or more words a day. So if you'd like to join, the easiest way for you to do that is to join my Facebook group. I know that sounds a little counterintuitive, but the Facebook Onward Writers group, and then the link is in there. And basically that link is complex, and I couldn't really give it to you over the air. You know what? Hang on. I have technology that can handle this for me. Stand by. I'm back. That took like 30 seconds to set up. If you would like to join my Slack channel and participate in there, go to rachelherron.com/Slack. Make sure you spell my name right. Rachael. rachelherron.com/Slack. It's pretty fun. Quickly, I would like to thank a couple of new patrons before we jump into the interview. And they are, thank you very much to Angie Green. It was lovely meeting you at the Sell More Books Show Summit, which is hard to say, and Claire Chandler. Thank you guys very, very, very much. It means the world. I write these essays for you, literally for you, Patreon subscribers. You can go to patreon.com/Rachael if you'd like to check that out. And now I'm going to stop talking 400 million miles a second. I've had a bunch of coffee at you and jump into the interview with Adrienne. I know you're going to love it. Please get some writing done yourself. Come into the Slack channel and tell us what your goal is. Tell us how it's going. I even have a whole whining channel in there if you just want to come in and whine. More than welcome to do it. So enjoy. Happy writing, and we'll talk soon. Well, I could not be more pleased to welcome back my friend Adrienne Bell. Hello, Adrienne.
Hey, Rachel.
Oh, what a joy to talk to you. It's so good. It's always so good to see your face. Listeners,
I'm so happy to be here.
Adrienne has been on the show before. You should look up her earlier episode. In that episode, we talked about how she writes, the how do you write of how do you write. But excitingly, Adrienne has a new book, and I really want to talk about that on this show. So let me give you a little bio for those of you who may have missed her in the past. Adrienne Bell is the author of over a dozen action-packed romances, including the best-selling contemporary Second Service series and the new Exiles of the Realm paranormal series. She loves nothing more than writing quirky heroines with a knack for finding trouble and the hard-headed heroes who help them fight their way out of it. Passionate about storytelling, she also runs Plot MD. Adrienne lives with her husband and sons on the far edge of the San Francisco Bay Area, where she spends her downtime reading, binge watching nerdy television, I know that's true, and scrolling through Disneyland fan websites. I have binge watched some nerdy television at your house.
Yes, you have. I have photographic evidence.
You made me watch Supernatural, which I appreciate, but I'm never going to be like you. So, but what is really exciting is you just released a book that is phenomenal. And I was an early reader of this. And thank God I was, because I'm constantly trying to finish the book I'm working on. And it really, really, really helped me. And that's why I wanted you on the show, because listeners, Adrienne is spooky. She is spooky when it comes to plot. She is the person that all of our friends, like in the Bay Area, I know she looks like she's humble right now, but she deserves all of this praise. She's the person when people have a plot problem, they go to Adrienne. They can say, I've seen it happen. They'll say 7 sentences to her, and Adrienne will say, well, the problem is the hero's not being heroic. And the way you could have that, you could change this. And then if you try to put this at the midpoint, then that's all going to fall into place. And suddenly you have a book. And I've seen it over and over. She's done it for me. She's done it for friends. It is a superpower. It is one of your, I think it's my favorite superpower in you. Your family probably has other ideas, but, you're insane at this. So what I wanted to know was, when did you even first start to notice plot structure and think about it?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, thank you. That was one heck of an introduction.
I blow no smoke. You are my hero.
I'm blushing so hard it hurts. So thank you. I really found story structure, it's so dorky. And I was a teenager, and my family, we watched a lot of PBS. We watched a lot of Nova, we watched a lot of Nature. And then I can vividly remember when the TV was turned on for the first time, and it was Joseph Campbell and Bill Moyers. It was The Power of Myth. Mm-hmm. And I sat there every day that week that it was on, and I watched that like crazy. It held my attention. All my other friends were watching Beverly Hills 90210.
I watched The Power of Myth and like part of it with my mom, and I was so bored. Never been more bored.
I had the absolute opposite response. I was rapt. I could not be pulled away from it. Suddenly, a lot of things that had sort of tickled in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's a name for that. I understand that now. I got exactly what he was saying. And it just, light bulbs went off in my head. And so that's really when I found it. And then it sort of grew from there. But that was my first taste of it. And I remember it vividly, like it was yesterday.
That's hilarious, because I literally, and you know this because you were around for this, but when I wrote my second book, it was rejected by my editor because it had no plot. And I realized then that with a master's degree, 10 years of writing,
Yeah.
a published book, a 3-book deal, and a second book done, I had never even heard of story structure. Literally.
Yeah.
I didn't know it existed. I had never noticed it in movies. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But you actually, like, you had this calling even from then.
It really was. It is funny because it is sort of my grand passion, and I love it. I love writing books, but I, capital L, love story structure. I can talk about it for days and days. I can sit down with somebody for hours and just talk about their book and books in general, or movies, or how things interact with each other, parts of it. It really is my great love.
Oh, that is amazing. For me, somehow the image of like diagramming sentences just came up. I used to diagram sentences for fun.
This is not my superpower. This is not my wheelhouse.
I loved it.
I'd rather pull my teeth out than diagram sentences. With my own hands, I would rather pull them out. But if we can talk about like how to put together that story, you betcha. But
so then what did you do to learn about story structure? Or did you just kind of absorb the Joseph Campbell stuff and then go on to observe?
Well, it was a little bit of both. I never formally studied it. It's not what I went to school for. I actually was a drama major, strangely enough.
Which is kind of, that's related though, right? You're still talking about story.
Exactly. It's another form of storytelling, and that has definitely informed my character studies. And in Plot MD, when we talk about character arcs, there's a lot that definitely influenced that. But so I read, Joseph Campbell is just one piece. I think we get too hung up on the hero's journey. I think it's a great starting point for people to learn about story structure. But I think if you stop there, you're really missing out on some other things, some really other wonderful things. Also, a lot of reading, looking at different media, watching movies, watching television episodes. What's the difference between, how you tell a story in a 2.5-hour movie versus a novel versus a comic book versus a 44-minute television episode? Those were the things that really sparked my interest. So I paid a lot of attention to those.
So I have had this thing happen to me, and I've heard other people talk about it too, that when they learned about story structure and what it was, kind of movies were a little bit ruined for them.
Yes.
Like I'm constantly like, oh, there's the context shifting midpoint right there. I see it. And that means this is going to...
hates it. They tell me to shut up. Like going into a movie, they're like, you're not going to say a word. Like we're going to go see the new Avengers movie tomorrow. And I already have some opinions about just from seeing trailers and hearing, what the Russo brothers have said in interviews. And I'm like, I have some theories. And everyone in the house is like, I don't want to hear them. Don't want to hear them.
So that's my question, because I'm irritated with my own brain when I start picking movies apart for structure now, because I just want to enjoy it. But is that something that is enjoyable to you, to sit there and deconstruct the structure while you're there?
Sometimes I really know a story is fabulous when I don't automatically go there.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And there are some movies, there are some novels, there are some stories that just, my brain, they can click off my brain better. But at first I was terrible at it and I would sit there and pick it apart. But more and more these days I can turn it off a little bit better each time. But it does make it fun when it's a bad movie.
That's true. That's true.
And sit there and be like, yeah, okay, yeah, no.
So what's your favorite part about plotting your own books?
Well, it's funny because, when people say plotting, they think of like, you know everything ahead of time because it's, are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? And
yeah. And you were clear on that in your book.
Yeah.
You don't,
there's a lot of process involved in it. And I think people get stuck on that. It just has to do with how you process information. So there's no right way to put together the plot of your book. If you do it ahead of time, if you do it while you're doing it, if you do it afterwards, there's this whole spectrum that we fall in as storytellers. So don't worry about it. Me personally, I'm sort of in the middle. Depending on the story, I'll usually know the beginning. I write genre fiction, so, I know that it'll end well, but I sort of figure it out as I go. And I think the more that you know, the components of story structure, what they do, what their impact is on, audiences, the more that you can play with that while you're writing and feel comfortable in the moment.
That's what I appreciated about your book the most, I think, is that you really go into the why.
Yeah, it's one thing that I didn't see very much.
I never see that either.
In plotting books. They tell you, write a good book. Here are the steps of this journey. This is what, these are the moments that you have to hit. And that's great. Have conflict. But they don't, I didn't see a lot of, well, what does conflict do in a story? How do you put it on a page? How do you make that then move the story forward? Mm-hmm. How do you gauge if it's being effective or not? And we hear that a lot, especially when people do workshops or talk in conventions. You hear it a lot. People say, well, you know what? The one thing that matters in this business more than anything is just write a great book, which is great. But yay, how do you do that? What is that? What does a great book look like? What does, how do you know if you wrote one? How do you know how it's going to be received? And that's sort of the question that I wanted to answer was, looking around, seeing that frustration, and then take it to the next step. Okay, now we know that we can't write what's a good book. So how do we write what's a compelling book?
I love that question. I know this is a big ask, but can you tell us a little bit about your structure? Because it is your system. I'll call it your system.
Yeah. So the way that it answers that question then of how do you write compelling, because good is so difficult to define, and is going to be different for every single person. So it goes into what are the things that you find, the major components you find in compelling books. And they are that they consistently set and then meet reader expectations, mm-hmm. that they put forward a set of relatable dilemmas that the characters then have to face. And then they set off of those dilemmas, they set up a constant flow of action and consequence that are tied together. So one action is a decision, which leads to a consequence. That consequence then makes the characters have to make another decision, which leads to another consequence, which leads to them having to make another decision, which leads to a consequence. And having those then file down through the acts leading up to major dilemmas, which are major philosophical questions the characters don't want to face, that you come up with through creating these character arcs. And then that makes the story personal and resonant to any individual reader, regardless of what world this story takes place in, or what what the back cover copy is, mm-hmm. Or what the setting is, what the time frame is. These are the things that pull readers through your story instead of trying to push them along from behind.
And I love that you include, because I think it's absolutely necessary, and it's not in all the advice, the idea that character arc is an inherent part of story structure.
Well, yeah, they're tied together. People are making these decisions, and we don't come in one size fits all.
You can't have a plot and then stick anyone in.
No, you can't.
It wouldn't work. I mean, I guess
it would, but you would have different stories. Right, and I think the difference sort of between plot and story is that plot's what happens.
Yeah.
And that, but story is the whole, plot is a major ingredient in story, but the story is the whole cake. The plot may be the flour in the cake and the characters are the eggs, and I'm apparently hungry and making up food metaphors. But, at the end, it's a story. The whole thing together is a story. You drop different people in here, and those people are going to have different character traits. And it doesn't mean that they're good. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It doesn't mean, that you need to give them a flaw. It comes down to, are the character traits they start the story with, are they effective in their world or are they ineffective? In a good story, those are going to be ineffective character traits for the situation they now find themselves in.
That blew my mind in your book, honestly.
They were probably effective before, because this person has gotten this far. Now they're facing a situation where their character traits are ineffective. And now we're watching them go to this other end of their arc where now they're going to take on more effective traits. And that's what readers are looking for, because they want to know that about their own lives. We're looking at that saying, I'm reading this book, this person is changing and adapting. That means I can change and adapt. That's an incredibly satisfying reading experience. And it doesn't matter, which genre you put that into.
That is what we want to see and to read. So you are a kind of person to whom plot drops into your brain cavity. And now I'm talking plot. I'm talking about just ideas. Have you always been that person?
Yes.
Oh, it's so annoying. You're so annoying. I love you, but...
No, Rachel, it used to get me in trouble. Oh my gosh, it used to get me in trouble. I was the girl who would sit in class, and when I got bored, I would just go away in my mind and think up a story. And then all of a sudden the teacher's like, Adrienne, do you know the answer? And I'm like, nope, because I was just in an Irish castle fighting leprechauns. It got me in a lot of trouble. Because I just turn off the world and go into it. So I always have been able to do it. Always have been. But it's been as much of a curse as a blessing.
Tell us a little bit about Plot MD and what the website is.
Oh, so on top of the book, there's also a website that goes with it. And there's a couple ways that you can get a hold of me. So I'm not just writing these days. I'm also doing some story structure consulting. So if you read the book and you use the tools that are inside of it, there are two tools, a character arc worksheet and a stacked funnel tool.
The stacked funnel tool, you guys. Get the book for the stacked funnel tool. Just got to say. I know I'm pimping you hard, but it's not because I love you. It is because this book is worth it. And I love you, but that's secondary.
It's so you can go there, and if you need help with it, I'm also doing a business now where you can come to me for some help. And I also have a subscription newsletter via Patreon where every week I come out with a different newsletter on 2 times a month. It's about a story structure concept, and 2 times a month it's about taking apart a literature-based movie, so like Pride and Prejudice or any of that, and then I break it down through the stacked funnel tool and show you why certain areas worked, why certain areas didn't work.
I did not even know this. Where is your Patreon? Because I must immediately subscribe.
It's at Patreon and at PlotMD.
PlotMD, okay.
Yeah, PlotMD. And so you can, if you're just interested in the concepts, you can just get the concepts, subscribe to that one. And it's about a cup of coffee. Yeah, per month. So for a month. And then if you just want the movies, you can just get the movies. And then if you want both, you can get both. And if you get both, you can also suggest movies for me. You can tell me which ones. So you can be really mean and like make me do, No Country for Old Men. And I'll be sitting there going,
crap.
I'll watch it. I'm not going to like it.
What I love about this is that you are putting yourself out there to help other people do the things that you've always done for your friends for free, which I have been a grateful recipient of. But the fact is that when I run into people with problems,
Yeah.
we send them to you. And this is my question for you. Have you ever been stumped by someone?
I haven't been stumped by anyone's plot. I've found it sometimes that people don't get the answer that they want. And knowing that you do coaching as well, have you found that too? Sometimes they don't get the answer that they want, so they sort of talk around.
And they tune you out.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to talk to them or with them because they're not listening anymore when you don't give the right answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They go in looking for a certain answer, and when it's not, they don't hear the words that they want to hear, then they sort of shut down. But that's sort of what I found. But no, so far, no, there are stories that I won't work with. I won't work with short stories because this is not my wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Experimental, hyper realistic literature.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, it's not going to fall into what my system does. My system is really set up for mainstream commercial fiction because that's where my heart is. And it's where I think the vast majority of good can be done.
That is awesome. That is so freaking awesome. I am excited for this. I'm excited for listeners to get the book. Tell us what you are up to now. What's next on your plate? Are you in the middle of another novel?
I am. Okay, I have to tell you the truth here and say that writing a nonfiction book was about the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life.
Word, sister, word.
Because I have never put into words what goes on in my head over this. So, kudos to the nonfiction writers. Oh my gosh. 1,000 times. I will never complain about writing fiction again. Ever. Right now I'm thankfully back to writing fiction, and I'm writing the third book in the Exiles of the Realm series right now. I'm working on a brand new series, which I'm not talking about right now, but and I'm getting ready to go to the RT Book Lovers Fair in Reno in May.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And where can people find you out in the world?
You can find me at plotmd.com or adriennebell.net. Like I said, if you want to meet the physical, actual me, which I'm not sure if I recommend it, but
I highly recommend it. You smell good and you're pretty.
Aww. But if you run into me at like an official book place, I will have goodies to give you. I'll be at the RT Book Fair in May. I'm going to be at the Octopus Literary Salon in June.
In June, yes. So if you're in Oakland, California, or in the Bay Area, please come hear Adrienne speak at that. That's going to be awesome. And you're at patreon.com/plotmd, which seriously, you didn't even tell me about this. Oh my God. That was a really good little guilty look there.
I am terrible at marketing.
You really are. That's why you have friends. But you know what? You're freaking brilliant at structure.
Exactly. As much as I love story structure, is as bad as I am at marketing. It's terrible.
It has been a joy to speak to you as always, my friend.
I love talking to you anytime.
Okay. Keep me posted and we'll talk very soon.
All right.
Okay, bye.